you sent me somebody, and I listened to them,
and yeah,
and I wasn't a particular fan of them. Not that I thought they were bad, just that I thought they were typical.
I thought they were terrible.
Right?
Oh wait. Oh,
No,
I'm
no, no.
sorry. Okay,
This
so
was the
this.
first one.
All right, right.
Like that, I was like, they sound exactly like. Here's 5 other bands they sound exactly like, and exactly like, but meaning that like when I was listening to them on Spotify started playing a different artist, and I didn't know that they started playing
Yeah.
a different artist, and this was back to back.
Right.
So like when the singer sounds exactly like the singer, and there's a certain genre of music that I'm not going to name the genres and do all that, but like certain genres of music, when you get below the level of when you get more to that local level or that even like starting to break through level, there's a lot of people that are just doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they sound exactly the same and they sing the same way. And it's mostly singers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's mostly singers because that's the thing that can really make a band sound the same. It doesn't help that everyone uses the same recording software now. So everybody has access to the same amps and the same plugins and the same, so that the music also kind of sounds the same. But when a singer sounds exactly like another singer, and then there's nothing really kind of new or different in the music, for me, it doesn't offend me, but it doesn't excite me. So I'm like, and then when Mike sent me another band, I go, well, this is what I normally get. This is why I picked them. I was like, I actually kind of like that better because at least it's different. And it was clearly not as well done. Clearly not as well done.
It was hard to listen to all the way through.
I thought both were that.
Yeah.
And you were talking about passive listening. So I wonder for people listening.
Yeah.
What is your experience with passive listening to music? Because at this point in our history, it seems like most people listen to music passively anyway. It's just background music, which is why there's no respect for artists. Why it doesn't matter, and why, like so many things that we can list that are wrong when you've got people out there that are like pouring their heart into these things. But passive listening, what's your guys' genres that you passively listen to? For me, it wouldn't be like you and I probably have different versions of genres that we put on passively.
Right.
Like, what do you typically put on when you listen to music passively?
Just to have in the background kind of thing. It all depends on the vibe. Like if it's something like if I'm putting together furniture, like I will have, hard rock, punk, scene music kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of have it on. If you're having a party.
Why is that furniture music?
I don't know.
I find that interesting. Like, like you can focus.
I find myself focusing like better.
Beat wise, it just works with the way that you turn screws.
I don't know why.
That's interesting.
I don't know why, but it just it really,
okay.
It keeps me upbeat, keeps me motivated. It keeps me like, okay, cool, just keep going forward. The steady beat is just pushing forward.
Okay.
You don't want to be listening to, in the arms of an angel.
No, I don't want that
one. While you're like building, you're just like, oh, this sucks.
I should be building a cage.
Right. So like something like that. If it's a party, I would put on more of a, just because it's me, more of a like 90s and early 2000s rock, like general rock mix of some sort, if it's at work, just kind of, again, depends on my mood. I could be in a punk mood, I could be in a Alice in Chains mood, I could be in a Fugees mood, I could be in a, in a number of different things. But what I was getting to is, like, if I was at work, sometimes you just put on your liked songs, right? And that could span hundreds of genres, right? And if the first band that I had sent to you, if they came up on my passive listening list, I would leave it. Like, I wouldn't be like, this just sounds like X.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, this is well done. It's not reinventing the wheel, but like, all right, this is good.
You would think that much of it, or it would just pass by and you wouldn't even notice it?
It depends on where my attention lies.
Okay.
But if my attention didn't need to be focused, like, let's just say, like I said, if I'm at work, when I used to work in an office with other people, like I'd just leave my music on. People would be walking by and stuff. It would be at a lower level, so I could do shit at my desk and stuff. So like if that song came on, and I'd just be like, this is fine. If that other song from that other band came on, I'd be embarrassed. If somebody walked by and heard, like, listen to me listening to that, I'd be like, I don't
Don't judge me based on this.
this was sent to me. You know,
Right, okay.
that's kind of how I gauge it.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, because we could get very, very specific and be like, oh, well, it's only the best of the best, you know, like, but we're talking to a lot of like new up and coming bands and stuff. And even our favorites, they all started doing cover shit.
Oh yeah.
And they wanted to emulate a specific band, and their first records sound like that specific band, and then they started sprouting out, you know.
See, I don't know. I
And
don't know if I agree with that completely.
It's
Because if I
hope.
If I look at my favorites, I can't look back into a time where they sounded exactly like another band. There was something about every one of my bands that made it to a point of becoming a band that I listened to more than once.
Okay. Yeah.
Even when they started, they
Maybe-
stood out. They stood out.
Maybe I overstepped on that one.
So no, I get it though.
Maybe
but
I overstepped on that one.
It's
But
opinions. You know what I mean?
but I just sort of feel like it's to me it's the test of like, if this song is on, am I going to be embarrassed that? And I mean, and also it's also like legitimately, I don't, you know, I applaud people trying to be different. I really do, because I try to be different, you know.
course, yeah.
But also the line different and bad was crossed very, very far.
So there's trying to be different for difference sake,
Mhm.
right? And then there's obviously doing what you're into, and it just separates you. I think
Mhm.
trying to do something different for the sake of being different kind of rings false anyway,
Sure.
right? I think when you're truly in any kind of art, when you are actually different, it's because you're being your authentic self, and your authentic self is just different.
Mhm.
Nobody's authentic self is a carbon copy of something,
No.
right? So that's a choice,
Mhm.
right? So the choice to sound just like something, or to paint the same picture as somebody else, or to do a cover song is a choice. And then whether you do it well or not do it well, then it becomes talent, skill, all that other stuff. So I tend to look at it, and I wouldn't use this to necessarily pick a guest. Like, I understand picking a guest based on a more polished product, and they're further along in what they're doing, and they have more of something going on. Whether that something is unique or not unique or whatever, they're at a level of professionalism that we're kind of like, okay, well, you're going to show up on time, and you're going to be.
Yeah.
I don't care if I like the music or not to have them as a guest, because that's the least interesting thing to me is their music.
Yeah. Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's how we built this show. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I honestly don't care about that. I'll say it to you. I'll be like, this band sounds like every other, but
Right.
but that has no bearing over wanting to speak to. When it comes to passive listening, I'm kind of the opposite from you. Whereas I can have 100 songs play and not notice them at all, and just kind of like be into a beat, right?
Mhm.
And it's different for me now too, because I stopped using Spotify. So
Mhm.
now I have to actively pick
Okay.
what I'm going to listen to. I can't just
Let the
write
algorithm.
songs,
Mhm.
because Spotify is a much more it's set up like a social media thing,
Mhm.
right? And so there's a lot less of that. I'm using Apple Music, so it's more of a choice every time. But there's still, like, I have to make that choice of going, I want this genre or this
Mhm.
era or this type of thing. So if I have passive music on, I'll actually stop if something pulls my attention away. Now I'm not passively listening. And that thing can be bad, but at least it got my attention.
Mm.
Whereas, I've heard your song 100 times, but I've never noticed it once, because it was always just running through a bunch of other songs, and it didn't stand out even a little.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that part of me that's like, hey man, you stood out.
Yeah.
You took my attention.
I definitely.
I didn't like it, but you got my attention.
I agree to a certain degree with that. Like yeah, that's okay. You stopped me in my tracks.
Right, yeah, like
But
I have a love for that,
but
even if it's bad.
right. But
I'm just like,
but when you're doing a show,
no, I wouldn't use that.
when you're doing a show and you go, hey, you can listen to this band's music.
Right.
You may not particularly care for it. It may not be your thing, but
It's not
but
gonna
you're not
offend anyone.
but you're not suggesting they go listen to garbage.
Right. Yes.
And
I agree. That's why I'm saying with the show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like
100%.
this other choice where he and Andy were like, I'm trying to pull some things like this part of it is good. I'm like, no, it isn't.
I was like,
I
they're both equal
promise.
to me.
I promise that's
One's
not
bad
good.
and the other one's lame.
Right. So to me, it was like why you would not be okay
Right.
with us bringing this person on and being like, well, at least they're different. You wouldn't be okay with that.
I tell you what, the part that I wouldn't be okay with, I wouldn't be okay with it seeming like we're putting a check mark on their music. Now, if they're just a weird cat and we
Well,
have them
that's
on and they're just like a wacky person and they have weird ass music, I'm all for that.
well, that's a different story.
But I agree that I don't necessarily. We're signing off on this record.
Right.
I don't want to I don't want it to seem like I'm recommending crap
Right.
to people.
Exactly.